All right, let's get started with doing some landscapes today. We're going to draw some landscapes. To get started, you're going to have your piece of paper and we're going to divide it into 4 sections. Here's a simple way to do that. We're going to use a little folding technique. So you go like this, you're going to fold it in half, short end to short end. Open it up. Now bring the long end to the other long end. Okay? This will make 4 equal areas. Now the next thing you could do, if you'd like to, you could actually use your pencil or your Sharpie, whatever you're using for the day, and you could go right over top of that so you can see it a little bit better. Notice how I turn the paper here when I do that so I can get a nice straight line. Alright, we're all ready to begin. The first one's going to be a very simple landscape here. And this is just going to be like a countryside landscape, and maybe we put a sunset in the background. To get started with this one, we're going to draw some lines. So we're going to start on the left side, and I'm going to take it, it's about in the middle here, and I'm just going to do a really light line, light wavy line. Not a lot of wiggles in there or waves, just a little bit. Okay, but we don't want it to be straight either. And then I'm going to do another one, just come down a little bit. This one also too, and go a little bit more. And then a third one's going to come right down in here. And again, just a little wiggle into that line, kind of like a wavy line, but just a little bit. Okay, so we got 3 there. We're going to be talking about background, middle ground, and foreground. And the foreground's right up here, middle ground's going to be right here, and the background area is going to be right up in there. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put a path in it. I'm going to start on the front, the foreground here, and I'm going to make a path. So watch this. I'm going to start right here. I'm just going to do a line that kind of curves here, come over a little bit, make this kind of wide because it's closer to us, so it's going to be a little bit bigger, and it's going to be like a little path. Okay, it's going over this hill. The next one then is going to go a little bit over here. So I'm going to move it over just a little bit, and I'm going to have it go up and over. Okay, it doesn't match up because on the other side of the hill it moves over a little bit. And then I'm just going to get a little bit smaller right here. Notice how this part of the path from here to here is bigger than here to here. That's because as it gets further away, it's going to get tinier. Now on this back one here, I'm going to make it really tiny, almost to it, so it kind of disappears. So watch this. This, that, and then it just disappears right there off into the distance. So you can kind of see this little path go over the hills. It's really kind of a neat little perspective there. To show a little bit more perspective, we're going to work on this background area. Let's do a little sunset here. So I'm going to go like this, give it a little sunset. Now since the sun is so big, it's actually going to be very large back there. And it's just going right down on the sunset there, or on the horizon line, and maybe add a few lines coming up. A few other objects I want you to add are some things maybe like some bushes or some trees that might be on these hills here. This first set are going to be a little bit bigger, so you can make those quite large actually, because they're closest to us. As you get further away, they get smaller. And then on that back one here, they're just tiny ones. You can barely even see them because they're so far away. And that's showing that depth. It looks like it's going further off. I think I might add a few clouds into this artwork as well. I just draw a line, and then I just kind of go like this to draw some clouds. Gives it a nice little look there. Another thing you could do to give it even more depth is work on the foreground a little bit more. So you could do different objects right here close to us. These objects closest to us are going to have a lot of details. So if you're going to do like a flower, it's really close to us, so you would see all the little petals in it. So you're going to make sure that you get some nice details into the foreground area. And that would be right in here. Unless it's really big, then it might actually go over all of this stuff here. And that happens once in a while, and it makes it look really neat. Like a big tree would be right here, and it might overlap on top of it. Okay? But if you'd like to add a few more things, you can go ahead right now. All right, for this next one, folks, we're going to be doing a seascape. We're going to practice doing a seascape. So a seascape is when you draw some water, and there might actually be some land in there as well. Okay, so we're going to actually add a lighthouse in this one and some land with some rocks. So we're going to start over here on the corner, and we're just going to kind of give a nice light wavy line that goes like this. This is going to be the foreground, the closest part of the in the picture plane. Next, we're going to be drawing right over here. We're going to draw a lighthouse. Okay, we're going to start with the lighthouse, and then we're going to add the land and the rest of the water. But we're going to start with this first of all. Okay, start with the line, horizontal line, and then we're going to go up, kind of at an angle, and then come right back down. Okay. So it gets a little bit skinnier towards the top. Next, I like to give it a little bit bigger base. So I'm going to go over and down right here. And then the top part, we're going to go like this, an angle. This is the part where you could maybe go stand. And let's draw some lines right here. And then let's go do the top part of our lighthouse. And a little line right there. And you could add some other things too, like you can make it look more like a light by putting little dots there. That's up to you. But there is one more thing. There's a lot of fancy ones that have these stripes on them, so you can identify them a little bit easier. So they're usually red and white. Alright, so we got some land here. We've got a nice lighthouse. Now we're going to put this lighthouse on some land. So I'm going to start right over here. And again, just a light wavy line. It's going to come out into the water, and it's going to go back this way. Okay. Now we can start to see where this is all located. Land, foreground, the middle ground's right in here. There is some water here. We could put a few little lines right here to show that water. But right up here we have a very important line to put in. That's the horizon line. Okay? That's going to show us where the water and the sky meet. And I like to do it fairly high. So about right in here, I'm going to do a line that's fairly straight. Doesn't have to be perfectly straight. And it's going to go across. Okay, now we can see even more water. Off in the distance, we might just see little lines right like that, just to show that there's water. Okay. A few other things you could add to it. You could add something in the sky. You could add clouds. It could be a night sky. It's really up to you on that part of what you add to it. But to even give it more details, it might be a good idea to add something right here into the foreground. Might catch your eye, even like a nice rock. Okay? Give it some nice detail there. A rock where somebody could sit on and look off into the distance. Or maybe even a chair there. Maybe a little chair somebody could look off into the distance and see some cool things out there in the water. Oh, and one last thing you could do. You could add something into the water like a boat out there. If it's right up here by the horizon, it's going to be kind of small. So it would be just tiny out there. If it's up here, it's going to be a little bit bigger. So it could be even that big. We drew a boat. Alright, that's a seascape. The next one is going to be located down over here. And this one's going to be a cityscape. Okay, so it's a picture of a city trying to show that foreground, middle ground, and background. We're going to start off first of all by drawing two lines towards the bottom here, and this is just going to be a road. Give it a road like that, and then we're going to be doing some buildings up here. And you could even draw some lines here to kind of show that it is a road. Kind of helps to recognize that. So foreground, right up here is the road. We're going to start doing some buildings here. So I'm going to start off by just doing some rectangles that come up. Maybe some that are small, some that are a little bit bigger. Just adding in some buildings. And that one even runs off there. Okay, you could add some windows from here, a roof onto it, depending on what size of buildings they are. If you want to add another layer to it, this is kind of cool. You can actually do buildings behind it, and it shows a lot of depth there going back towards the background. Layers and layers of buildings, like a big city. Okay, and then maybe even like that. You don't have a lot of room here because those buildings are taking up a lot, but you could even add some fun things in there. You know, maybe there's some fireworks in the background. Those are kind of fun to do as well. You know, maybe there's something else going on there as well. Maybe it's a night sky. From there, you could add doors and windows and make them a little bit more interesting with your cityscape. Alright guys, for this final one, this will be up to you guys. I want you to look through some of those packets there today that I gave you, and maybe find one that you'd like to do for your own, and you can have the rest of the time to practice today. Alright, good luck.